Hey everyone, my name is Chelsea and I work for Plotly. I head our documentation and support teams, and I also work quite a bit with our Python API. So today I'm going to be discussing dashboards and how to create dashboards with Plotly and Python. So we'll be creating these dashboards programmatically. If you're having any trouble viewing, you might just want to refresh. And I'm going to share my screen so we can get started. Great, so you should all be able to see my screen now. So as I mentioned, we're just going to be discussing programmatically creating dashboards with Plotly and Python. And a dashboard, a quick overview of Plotly dashboards. A dashboard is a collection of plots, images, text, and or web embeds. And you organize these components with a custom layout. And with Plotly, you can create dashboards in two ways. So we have an online interface where you can use drag and drop methods to position your charts in your dashboard, or you can create them programmatically. So today we'll just be focusing on the programmatic method. And with both methods, your plots and dashboards are going to be stored in your online account. So you'll be able to organize both your charts and your dashboards online. And if you're new to Plotly, you can get started by installing Plotly's Python API and then checking out our Getting Started documentation. I'm going to link this notebook in the Crowdcast comments at the end, and so you'll be able to visit these hyperlinks to get more information there. So if you're familiar with Plotly's documentation, we usually put a version check at the top. This is just to make sure you're using an updated version of our API because we're consistently adding features. So for example, the dashboards are going to be available in 2.0.5 and up. So right now we're on 2.0.15. So I'm just gonna make sure I have the latest version here. And then I've added an import cell here. So the first bit is going to be the Plotly imports. So we'll be using Plotly's dashboard objects, plotly.plotly, and then Plotly's graph objects. Additionally, we'll be using datetime, IPython display, pandas, and pandas data reader. So one big part of dashboards is the styling and customizing. So I've added a few colors and a color scale here just so I'll be able to reference these colors in both my charts and the dashboards that I'm about to create. Okay, so the first step in creating these dashboards is going to be to create the plots that we want to add to them. So I'm going to create 4 plots here, and I'll be using the Apple data from this web.data reader set here, and looking at a few different years, and this is going to be open, high, low, close data. So first I'm just going to make a box plot. So I'm going to use our go.box function here, and we'll make a box for each of the open, close, high, and low data sets. And then I'm just using our py.iplot function to plot in the notebook because since I'm running in a Jupyter notebook, I want to see my charts in line here. So yep, I'm plotting this data, and now you can see you have your interactive Plotly chart in the notebook here. Okay, so for the dashboard, I'll be referencing the URL. So I'm just going to define our URL here. So basically, this is just this iPlot here was kind of an extra step so we can view the chart that we're creating, but typically you'll just want to define your URL with py.plot. And here we'll spit out the URL just below. Great, so you can just see it's a regular Plotly URL with my username and then the file ID that I've created. Great, so we're gonna start and on our second chart here. So again, still using the Apple data, and here I'll make an open, high, low, close chart. And this one's gonna be a little different because I'm going to make it secret. So in Plotly, this means we're creating a private chart, but we'll have a share key appended. So when you embed with that share key, users will be able to view it, but they won't be able to search, and this chart won't show up on your public profile, for example. So again, I'm just going to plot in the notebook, and then below we'll look at the chart and what we have here. Great, so we got our open, high, low, close, and then we'll just take a look at the URL. This one's gonna look a bit different because it will have the share key at the end. Great, so you can see username, file ID, and then the share key. And we'll be using that later when we embed this in the chart. Okay, so great, so now we're just going to take a look at the last two charts. I'm going to make two scatter charts here. So we'll just be looking at comparing 2007 and 2008 high data, and then 2007, 2008 closed data. Okay, and our last chart. Great, so now we have all of our charts and all of the associated URLs. So now we can get started on the actual dashboard. So the first step will be to initialize the dashboard. And we're going to do this just with our dashboard.dashboard function. So I'm just going to define this as my board. Then you'll see when we run myboard.getPreview, it's just going to be very basic because we haven't added anything to it yet. So this should be blank. Now we'll move on to the more exciting part of filling the dashboard. So as I mentioned earlier, the dashboard can be composed of not only charts, but also text and web embeds. So when you're filling the dashboard, you're going to do that by creating a box. So basically, you just have to give the box a type with box type. And today we're just going to add plots. So basically all we have to do is use a box type of plot, add the file ID, add the share key if we have one, and then we can put an optional title as well. If we were to add text or a web page, it's pretty similar. We just, again, set box type, and it would be text. You add your text as a string, and then you can add an optional title. And if you wanted to embed a web page, you'll just be setting box type to web page, and then add that URL of your web page and an optional title. Great, so now we'll just come down here and add the charts that we created to the dashboard. So to help you guys out with this, I've created two little helper functions. So the first one is to just take that URL that we returned from the plot, and this is going to extract your username and then the file ID as well, because that's all you need from the URL. And then if you're adding a plot with a share key, you can use this second function, share key from URL, and it will just extract the share key from your secret URL. So run that. Great, so now we can define the file IDs for our 4 plots using URL 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll set up our boxes here. So as I mentioned earlier, we're only adding plot box types. And you'll notice I have added a title here. So just titling each of the plots. So in our dashboard, this will just appear above the plot. And in box B, this was the one with our secret URL. So for the share key, I've defined that using the share key function for URL2. So we can grab that share key from URL2. Great, so finally down here, it's important to note when you're creating these dashboards programmatically, we're going to build from the bottom up. So the first dashboard that you insert will show up at the base, at the bottom of your dashboard. So I want my open, high, low, close chart to be down at the bottom. So I'm going to start by inserting box B. And we'll just use myboard.insert to add that chart to our dashboard. Great. So right now our dashboard is basically just the single chart. So now we'll start positioning the rest. So I'll add the first one I created, the box plot, just above the open, high, low, close chart. And then I'll have my 2 scatters next to the box plot. So I'm going to put box C to the left. And then we'll just put the last one, box D, above that. So the 2 scatters will be just above each other to the left of the box plot. Great, so now we have all of our charts added to the dashboard. So I'm going to do a little styling customization. So first, we'll just be editing a few settings of the dashboard. So here we can see we'll just define the settings in my board. And first, I'll set a title. And after setting a title, I'll add a logo. So for this, if you have your logo hosted anywhere online, if you're hosting it in a CDN or on GitHub, you can just add that link and set that up as your logo URL. And then we also have the option of adding some links. So this shows up next to your dashboard title. You'll have the link title. So I'm linking to Plotly's site and then also to python.org. So that will just show up as Plotly in Python next to my title. This will be clickable. Okay, and finally, we'll get back to the color settings. So we have a lot of options for creating a really customized dashboard here, but since my charts were pretty colorful, I'm going to focus just on changing the color of the headers. So basically, this will right here change the color of our general dashboard header, and then down here I'll change the box headers. So this is just the header and title of each of our plots there, and I'm just editing the text color as well, so it's a bit more readable. Great, so I'm pretty much ready to upload the dashboard now. So we'll just use the function dashboard ops.upload, and I've just titled this with webinar. So I can run this, and this will just upload, like the charts, into my Plotly cloud account. And here we'll be able to visit this URL. And see the dashboard. Great, so yep, up at the top we have the header, so we can see the title that I've added, the links to Plotly and Python, and then also Plotly's logo here. And scrolling down, we'll just check out each of the charts that I've added here. And the charts remain interactive. So you have the common Plotly hover text. You can toggle traces on and off, so you see. And then you can also zoom and pan as well. Scrolling down, you may have noticed when I created the open, high, low, close chart for our finance charts, we've added a range slider below. So you have the option of kind of selecting a given range here and then using this to scroll through the chart. So that was, it's part of the chart. So that was shown when the chart was embedded in the Jupyter Notebook. Then it's also here for the dashboard as well. You have that option. And I'll just scroll up. One of the new features we've added to our dashboard is the search bar at the top that searches the hover text, and then it will mark a specific point. So this works best with our scatter charts. So I have our two scatters here. Basically, I can just add a date here. So I'll look at April 1st, 2007, which must have been a weekend. So let's look at the 5th. Great, so I've selected that point, and you can scroll down and see it's marked here on the chart and marked on this chart as well. So if you want to mark a few comparisons or something like that, you have this option, and then you can add multiple days or clear as well with the X. Great, so now that we've taken a look at this, I'm going to go back to the Jupyter Notebook, and we'll look at the option we have for updating the dashboards, because it's great to create a dashboard, but oftentimes you want to keep that updated with your latest data, or if you want to make changes, that's totally possible. So one of the nice things is in Plotly, you can update your charts pretty easily. Basically, all you have to do is set a file name. Then when you make a change and rerun the code, that chart will update. So we can come down here to the scatters, and instead of using colors 1 and 3, I'll try using 2nd and 4th color. So here we can see I'm going to run that and change the color. And then when I come over to the dashboard and update the dashboard, the color will also be updated here. So that's a pretty basic example to see the updating. Most users would find this more useful updating the actual data. So maybe we can compare 2009 to 2008. I'm just gonna move 2007 here. I want to change the name as well. So like with the color updating, here we get the data updated, and when you come back to the chart and refresh, we'll see the data updated here as well. And so I guess one important thing to note with that is you don't just have to use static data. If you have a database that's updating and you use a database connector or set up a cron job, you can have that updating automatically. So every time you refresh your dashboard, it's updated with the most recent data set that you have available. Great. So we've gone over creating and styling and updating the dashboard. In the notebook here, I've just linked our general Python documentation, and then also if you're interested in learning a bit more about Plotly dashboarding and our Dash tool, we have a workshop coming up, as well as a few other webinars coming up as well. So I think that's all set for me. And we can open this up for questions if there's any questions now. Just pop back there. Okay, so one of the questions was where can I get the notebook file, and I have that ready for you guys, so I'll just paste it into the chat here on the side now. Let me just check. I think you guys can still see my screen. Yep. Great. So in Plotly, in addition to the charts and dashboards, you have the option of uploading Jupyter notebooks. So I've uploaded my notebook that I used here, and I'm just going to share this link with you guys. And then you have the option when you visit this link, you can export, and this will export the IPython notebook file. Okay. Great. Okay, so another question was, can I draw on Mapbox with Plotly? And yes, we do have integration with Mapbox. If you go to that plot.ly/Python link in the notebook, that will take you to our documentation. And under maps, we have quite a few examples of using Mapbox in Plotly. Okay, no, it looks like we got that question twice. Okay, so one question was, what is the product roadmap look like for dashboards? So we've just added a few features that I didn't get to quite all of them today, but in addition to that search bar, we've added like linked brushing between the charts, so you can select data points in one chart and get them to highlight in another chart in your dashboard, which we found we had a lot of requests for that, so we were really excited to add that. Other than that, we've been working on Dash a lot, which is pretty similar to our dashboarding tool, but adds a bit more reactivity, and we'll be doing a webinar on that tool pretty soon. If you have any feature requests for the dashboards, you can check out support.plot.ly, and there's a place there where you can add feature requests. Or just inquire about a bit more about our product roadmap. Okay, so I see, can you add any number of plots to a dashboard? Yep, so you can just continue adding them. If you're going to add quite a few plots, you'll need to edit the overall length of the dashboard programmatically. So that's just a height setting that you can change, and it's in pixels. So you'll just want to make the height long enough so that the charts are visible. Can you export the plots directly from the dashboard? Yeah, so let me go back to my dashboard and I'll show you guys. That's a good question because I didn't get to our little drop-down menus here. So basically what we allow users to do is use that drop-down menu, and you can download the data if that's available. You can edit the plot if you have permission. Otherwise, you would fork and edit the plot. And then we have this view plot option. So when you click on that, it will bring you to see the plot on Plotly, and from here you can export basically any file type you'd want, including the static image, grab the data, see the code to create the plot, or get the HTML file so you keep the interactivity there. Okay. How does this differ from Dash? That's a good question as well. So the main component that differs is Dash has a bit more, as I mentioned earlier, a few more features added to it. So this is more if you're trying to make a report that you want to easily share and you don't need a lot of interaction between the charts or different data sets used. We're trying to up the dashboards so that they include a lot of features that are commonly used, but Dash goes a bit above and beyond that. So both are pretty easy to use if you're comfortable with Python. Our dashboard tool, though, however, has a graphical user interface. So you may have noticed when I hovered on that toolbar, here we have an edit option. So as the creator of this dashboard, I can select the edit option and then basically edit this in our online interface that we have here. If you're not comfortable with Python, you can still create dashboards completely from scratch in this interface. So as I mentioned, the drag and drop methods, you can start adding your plots right away here. It really depends from user to user if they find the interface more simple or doing it programmatically. It's up to you, but we've offered both options. So, yep. I think we have if dashboards are open source. So our dashboarding, the Python API dashboarding tool is, or wrapper is open source. Our graphical user interface is not open source at this time. So, yep, you can basically see and contribute to all the Python API dashboard code that's in our plotly.py GitHub repo. And let's see. Okay, so then I also see, can you add different tabs on the dashboard? I'm not 100% sure that I understand the question, but I think the answer would be no. If you mean you want like this dashboard to be shown and then a tab here that switches to a completely new dashboard here, that's not possible. You're going to have this one page basically. So it's going to be a single page dashboard. So I hope that answered that question. Oh, this is a good one. How do I share my dashboard? Yeah, so let me go back to the view mode. So when we created the dashboard in Python, it brought us to this URL, and so we're in this mode here. If you use this toggle and select edit, you'll notice down here you have a save button. So that's if you're gonna change this a bit with the GUI, you can then save your changes. Then we also have a share button right here next to it. So you can just select that and it gives you the shareable link, which you can then send to your coworkers. You also have the option of changing the privacy here. So if you decide you don't want it public after all, you can make it private and share it with the private link. So like with that secret chart, this just appends a share key, but I want this one to be public. Then in this tab here, we have the collaborate option. So you can invite other people, and when they have Plotly accounts, they can edit and contribute to your dashboard as well. So if you're working on a team, this is a really good option for that. Okay, and finally, I think, let me see if I missed any of the questions. Okay. Okay, I think I saw if you can export the dashboard, and that is possible. If you go to help.plot.ly, we have a dashboard section there and a tutorial specifically on exporting the dashboards there. So you can get that as a static file if you prefer to use the static file and share it that way. So, yep. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap up now. So I hope that was some useful information for you guys. If you're interested in a few of our upcoming webinars, we are going to do a pretty similar one, but using R instead of Python, and that's going to be pretty soon. Then we're going to also talk about Dash on October 25th. So again, Dash is going to be in Python. And finally, we'll do a dashboard webinar using our graphical user interface. So if you're interested more in seeing our online editor tool, that one would be a really good one to tune in for. Yep, if you have any questions about Plotly cloud accounts, you can sign up for free and test it out. And then we have a few different student, personal, and professional options. So all of that information is online as well. And finally, November 14th, we're going to be hosting our PlotCon conference again. So this one is going to be in New York, and that's the 14th through the 17th. And we're going to be doing some workshops there. So it's a bit more intensive. You can get your questions answered pretty much one-on-one, and we're going to be focusing on Plotly.js, our JavaScript library. If you're a JS user, we have an R one, and then we'll also be doing a Python and Dash one. So if you want to learn a little bit more about any of those APIs or tools, then you can definitely sign up for those. And finally, if you have any more questions about this webinar, you can contact Rob Williams, or you can visit support.plot.ly, and you'll kind of see that's our support app, and you'll figure out where to go from there. Okay. So I think we're going to wrap it up now. Thanks for listening, and I hope that was helpful for you.